Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is...
Okay.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Ignite Your Heart and Soul right here in selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my guest is Augustus Vaugn. He is the wisdom is the principal thing between class and depends on it. And he has this wonderful featured book called The Bad Boy. But he's very, very unique in the way he presents his wisdom. When you go to his site and you click on any one of them, you're going to have some wonderful classic music in the background as his soft, soothing voice speaks to the things that we need to know. How did he come about this? Well, he was born in Watts, California, to native parents in the midst of 92 Watts riots, and he was sent to live with his uncle in Rome, Italy. And by the age of 4, it was a better environment for him, and he returned to America in 2003. For 7 years, he taught poetry and spirituality to fellow students and students of neighboring schools in the Los Angeles area. Months before his 18th birthday, he moved to Broken Arrow in Oklahoma to attend Bible school in hopes of becoming a minister to excel in his work. But someone had a different plan for him. Instead of starting a ministry behind the pulpit, Augustus would visit people in need of assistance and did what he could to help, mostly advice. As time went by, Augustus started to notice the results people gained, so this inspired Augustus to write some more. He featured an open mic poetry venue he could find until in the state of Oklahoma. And there was a longer task to the young poet. So he was once more drawn back to the sunny state of California, where he would do charity work and discover what issues needed close attention to the area. Eventually, he realized that these issues were not just in his area, but nationwide. So he decided to write his first book, The Bad Boy. Now he runs an organization based on dealing with common issues through literature, features in well-known book sites like Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Audible, iTunes, and has given full access to a free library of his own site. And he claims that he'll soon be in the thousands. One may be superstitious, but considering that Augustus was born on the same day as Caesar Augustus died, August 19th, this might be the continuation of a great empire. Welcome to the show, Augustus.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for that introduction. That's a beautiful introduction.
Your words, I just read them. So it is a very unique way, the way you do it. It's, I've been doing these podcasts for 9 years now and interviewed people on many different spectrums, but kind of the spoken poetry, the spoken wisdom, but setting the stage with the music in the background. It's actually a great advantage because the music already calms people and you have a very soothing voice and you speak slow and articulately. So when you are speaking with that music in the background, you've got people centered. You've got people listening. What made you come about with this beautiful format?
Well, I've noticed in history, ancient African history, whenever the elders will speak or whenever any orators will speak and will speak to certain tribes, it's not like TED Talk. It's not quiet. It's not silent. It's not where you could drop a pin and you could hear it in the back of the room, which might be a big room in most scenarios. No, they had the musicians playing music. They had the musicians playing the drums in the background, and they understood that music actually hits you emotionally. Now, what most people intend to do when they speak is to actually ingrain everything into that person's their memory. But emotion is actually what allows things, thoughts, ideas, suggestions to enter into the memory bank quicker. So the African tribes, the tribal leaders, they understood this. So they put music in their oratorship, in their speaking. And that's what I attempt to do today.
And you do it very well. The
Thank
thing
you.
is about life is that it is rhythm, and poetry is rhythm. And when you have the music accompanying that rhythm, it really can get people into the flow of listening, but not only listening, but letting it really penetrate right through their senses. So it's a double invitation because music is so soothing, but it is conducting. It's taking people where they want people to
Mm,
go in the flow. And when you bring the
mm,
words on top of that, it is like a singer over the music. But you're speaking word rather than singing the words. Um,
mm,
and it's just setting people into the right rhythm. And I think that's one of the things that's missing in life right now is that people have so much static and noise around them. They don't know how to get in just to the flow and the rhythm of life. And we need to slow
mm,
down and pay attention to those beautiful sounds of life around us.
mm. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I agree very much so. Um, I think today very few are aware that we weren't created for electronics, and electronics weren't created to really tend to our chakras and our just nature. Uh, there's good radiation, radiation that comes from the sun that's actually good for us. But then there's bad radiation, radiation that causes pollution. So yes, I believe I agree all the way.
Yeah, everything in life has a good and bad about it. And, I always say that if you could live life with moderation, you can have a taste of everything in life. But it's when we become excessive is when we run into a problem, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, indeed.
How do we not become over excessive? And um, we're looking at the medias and we're looking at society telling us that more is more, that we need more to validate ourselves. How do we learn to listen to that less is more? Um, that it's not about how much you have, it's about what you do have and its own abundance, its own generator of you. How do we get people still enough to listen to that?
Um, there's a number of ways, but I would say the most basic way would be to simply keep everything life based, to keep everything to tend to life. Um, this doesn't take a lot of scientific thought, expertise. You don't have to have a master's or a doctor's at Harvard to figure these things out. The moment you walk outside, if there's nothing but desert, you know that there's not much life near. If you walk outside and you see a jungle, it's very tropical, you know that there's much life near. And whatever you do, if you have to cut a tree down in order to do whatever your plans are, make sure that you're not doing too much of it. Make sure you don't get carried away and cut the entire jungle down. If you have to light a fire, make sure that you're not going to burn the jungle up. Pay attention to the birds whenever you see them. Elders, they have no problem paying attention to life. I notice when people usually hit their elder and their senior years, they pay attention to life. Seniors take walks in the park, and it's not because they have nothing better to do. No, they want to see what's on the birds' minds today. They want to see what the dogs, what the cats have to say today. They're paying attention to life. And in many cases, it makes the last years of most people's lives more precious than the middle years. I won't say the first years because children are just as observant to life as seniors are. But those middle years, we have a real issue tending to what has life in it. I'll say this, then I'll leave it to you. But um, when man gives a gift, you could throw it at a wall and it'll bounce off the wall, whether it's a Rolex watch or a toy from a vending machine. You throw it at a wall, it's just going to bounce off of it. But if God gives you a gift, it's going to have life in it. The ducks, that's a gift. The lions, they're gifts to us. The horses, giraffes, everything that God has given us, it has life in it. And when we show appreciation for those persons, those forms of life show appreciation to us.
Gratitude is a huge thing, isn't it? I feel that we've become so opulent and entitled. And, our forefathers really had to work for absolutely everything they've had. And now we can just download an app and get everything, delivered by Amazon in a matter of minutes. If we had more appreciation and gratitude for the simple things in life, for the small things, as you said, take a child to the park to feed the ducks, watching the ducks skirt across the water as they're chasing something, the
Mm-hmm.
beautiful bristle of the trees in the wind, the ripple of the wind across the water, the wind in their hair blowing their hat off, and the wonderful giggles that come out of them. There are
Mm-hmm.
so many pleasures to be had in the simple things. But for some reason, we've been told that we need to have this more in order to find the pleasure. And it's leading people down the wrong path, isn't it? It's leading them away from their core of their heart, their soul, and their spirit.
Yes, yes, indeed. Um, the ancients, all of their wisdom, it came from either a deity that didn't dwell on earth, or it came from the animals and the plants and everything that was there before they were. So when we look at us today trying to use science to figure things out, we have to remember there was something here before us.
Mhm.
There was something here before our intellect and our concepts that we like to treat as if they've been here for a very long time, but they've only been here for as long as we have been here. The majority of our studies are based on people that have been here for the past 1,000 years at the longest, and we observe those behavioral patterns and say this is just science, this is just how things are. No, they're not even laws, they're theories. See, so we have to appreciate what has been given to us from above, not what we're coming up with ourselves.
Well, that's where the divine channeling comes in. When
Mm-hmm.
you are connected, whether you call it God, universe, or spirit, when you are connected and you open up that beautiful divine channel and it speaks to your soul and it resonates in your heart and it lifts your spirit into action, your mind will know what it needs to know when it needs to know it. But we have to be tapped in. And so, therefore, we have to be tapped in within ourselves because that is where the channeling of that divine wisdom is coming. If we stop chasing the exterior life and go into the interior life, we truly understand the gift that we are to selves and what gift we can be to life and to this planet. It's a questioning of willing to go in and open up, isn't it? To be vulnerable.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
But how do we get there? And that's one of the big things that really comes down to it. I
Mm-hmm.
love your title. Wisdom is the principal thing because class depends on it.
Mm-hmm.
Wisdom is something that you can't purchase. It is something that is acquired through life's lessons. It can be passed down, but how you apply it to you, to yourself, that wisdom is given as knowledge. It
Mhm.
becomes your wisdom when you use that knowledge wisely. What is the wisdom? What is the principal wisdom for you? And why do you say class depends on it?
Well, okay. Wisdom, in all essence, there's levels to wisdom. Um, I'm not sure if we have enough time to get into it today,
Start,
especially all
start.
of the.
Just you can touch the surface.
Yes, indeed. Um, but there's the wisdom that the sophists use to reference Sophia, philosophy, the love of wisdom, the love of Sophia. Um, what Aristotle, Socrates, Plato, Homer, even what they instituted into the world as a concept, what they would call wisdom. This, in all essence, is what we call today conventional wisdom. It is common sense.
Mhm.
Even on the streets, they call it street smarts. It's all the same thing. Um, but this isn't the principal thing. The principal thing, the wisdom that is actually the principal thing, is the wisdom that we get from above and, like you said, from within, because it's the same wisdom that actually created creation.
Mhm.
It's the same wisdom that the Higgins particle, the God particle, was actually created by. Now, scientists have used their means, and I think they're getting a lot of this stuff revealed to them still. That's my honest opinion.
Mhm.
But they use their means to come across the God particle just recently. Scientists has been around for a while, and they just now came across the God particle. So, for those that don't know the God particle, that's pretty much the atom that all creation really derives from,
Mhm.
um, scientifically speaking. Now, what they may not realize is that there had to be a creator to create that God particle.
Mhm.
And there's no saying how many more thousand years it's going to take for them to crack that shell. So, wisdom is the principal thing, but it's a specific kind of wisdom that comes from a specific kind of being that gives that wisdom to us. Because if we try to use our own means to get there, if we try to use our mind and try to emotionalize this thing or conceptualize this thing, we're going to get confused.
Yes.
We're going to get lost. There is a degree of feeling. There's a degree of tapping in. There's a degree of listening that we have to do in order to receive this wisdom, the principal wisdom that all things were created by.
There's always different levels in life, different levels of understanding, of immersement, of the epiphanies that you get along the way. And that wisdom you're talking about, the God particle, is understanding, for a start, we are all one. We are made up of the universe. Every
Mm-hmm.
single thing on this planet has the signature of the universe in it. Everything that is
Mm-hmm.
growing on here, including us. And if you looked at our mathematical equation, it is all kind of the same numbers. If we could
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that we all come from the same source, then we would not, I think, look to the division of each other, but rather the unification of each other. In nature is just formidable when you look at all the different beautiful creatures there are in the world. Um,
Mm-hmm.
their abilities, because each one of them was given a gift, either to camouflage or to be colorful, to produce something. Where would we be without the bees?
Mm-hmm.
It's This planet was extremely well thought out because there is whatever disease there is, there's a cure a few feet away. There, everything that's being put here. I'm still trying and work out what ants are here for, though.
Aren't we all?
But just about everything else has a reason to be here, has a job. Well, we do too. We
Mhm.
have a job as well. And I feel that one of those big jobs, and I know it's mine, is the igniting of heart and souls to the universal source energy, to the God particle, into understanding what we're here to learn, what we're here to do, and then take that knowledge back into the universe. But if we could see that we're just a different tree in the forest, but we're still a part of the forest, I don't think we'd be so angry as a human race.
Yeah. I most definitely agree. When you look at, and I don't want to get too deep here,
Go
but
deep, darling, go deep. This is what our
okay,
shows are all about. Go deep.
okay, all right, people, I got permission. I'm going deep. But when you look at anger, anger in all essence is it's a tool. There's a purpose behind anger. Um, this is very hard for people to understand today because once more, it's another thing that we try to conceptualize. But anger is the result of something that is wrong. That's why it works with pain so much. Pain, physically speaking, if someone were to pinch you, you wouldn't like that. If someone were to get a needle and just kind of pick at you, you wouldn't like that. And your pain receptors, they're there to notify your body, to notify you something wrong is happening here. It doesn't matter where it is, it notifies you something wrong is happening. And today we have a lot of people that feel like they need to numb themselves.
Mm-hmm.
See? So if someone were to pick at you with a needle and you don't feel it, the fact that you don't have pain may feel good to you, but the fact that you can't feel what's happening is in all essence bad for you.
Mm-hmm.
So anger is good because it's the ability to recognize something wrong
Mm-hmm.
and see anger in most cases it moves people to stop problems quicker than motivation, confidence, peace, all of the good things that we love to enjoy. Anger is usually the one that causes people to stop problems because they don't want to see whatever's happening anymore. They don't want to hear that it's happening. They don't even want to know that it's happening anymore. They want to know that it has been stopped. And that's the beautiful side of anger. So when we getting back to the point, when people pay attention to that creation, that wisdom that God has given us, and the beautiful things that we do have, it does allow people to stop being so angry because they learn what anger is actually for.
Mm-hmm. It's a driver to solutions, not to violence.
Yes, indeed.
But that's our choice. We were given that choice. You know, as you said, the anger
Mhm.
is here for a reason. There is something to be angry about. It's not for you to stay in your anger, it's a motivator to find a solution to it. And the
Mhm.
solution is not to get violent and cause more pain and incite more anger, but it is actually to lead whatever has angered you or whatever the problem is to love. Because when we can step over to the vibration of love, we're already in the healing mode. And we do need to stand up for the people that are being victimized, for the wrongdoings. Accountability needs to be there. But don't be self-righteous about it and don't do it from a violent point of view. Look at it from a compassion. Well, whoever is doing something that's making you angry, they're doing it gently from a place of either confusion, fear, or pain. And try and understand what that pain is, where the confusion is, how we can help them understand. Because now, in that compassion, you can release them from that anger. You've become part of their solution. So it's
Yes.
very easy to knee jerk with anger. But we need to understand, why is the anger there and what can we do about it, and not go to the violence of which we see way too much of.
Mhm. Wow. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
I love this one show that you've got here, the God Pill Wisdom.
Oh, yes.
Tell us
Yes.
about that.
Yes, that's a show that I'm doing with the good brother, Marcus Hart. Uh, Man, it's an amazing show that we put together. I'm actually the co-host on it. That's his baby. That's his Picasso. Um, but you know, it's something that we put together because I first featured on his network, and he said, you know what? After the show, he said, "Man, we could do something. We could do something. Um, this wisdom, it really does need to be tapped into." And we just put our heads together, and we ended up doing an entire podcast based on wisdom, but wisdom from God, and we call it God Pill because if anyone is familiar with the Matrix series, you have the red pill, the blue pill. He said there's a white pill. I wasn't aware of that. And he said there's a black pill. I wasn't aware of that. Um, I may badger this a bit. Blue pill, living in your own reality. Red pill, living in the reality. The white pill, living in a peaceful reality that you kind of, but it might not be the real reality. And the black pill, where you just lose hope, you're just in a dark reality. Well, we said, okay, well, let's not give them God's pill. Let's not give them, why not give them the God pill, the pill from God? And it's a pill that's based on his wisdom. So it's the God pill wisdom show.
And when you think about it, it is very close. It's a more definition of the white pill.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Again, I always believe there is an answer, but when you're in a state of confusion, you can't see it. You're
Mm-hmm.
tied up into the emotion of it. We can't see beauty, we can't see love, we can't see anything. We can only see anguish and pain. And
Yeah.
the coming out of that, the taking of the breath, and pausing enough in that pain to know that there is still beauty out there. There is still love out there, and that it's not, you don't feel it at the moment because you're feeling the anguish. But this, it's a feeling for you to acknowledge, to remember, because the more we understand about our own anguish and our own pain, the less we're going to inflict it upon anyone else. And that there's always a lesson to be learned in absolutely everything we go through, isn't there?
Yes. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Now, you've got this whole audiobook series, and the other thing that you do along with the music is you find beautiful pictures. The class definitely is there. I love the presentation of it because it's not in your face, but it is very classy, which is wonderful. And you call it the Wisdom Library, and you've got all these different books. So we'll get to the bad boy in a moment, but let's look at beauty, the self-help, chivalry. What are the beauty books all about?
Okay, so beauty, it is, I cultivated it for the purpose of education, but to be frank, it is a builder upper. It builds men and women, women and men. emotionally. And I made the book to glorify the woman.
Mm.
Um, it deals with all forms of beauty, but specifically for the woman. And the reason why is because, I've done I won't say a study, but I've had some things revealed to me about women that I wasn't learning in school.
Hmm.
Um, some things that I wasn't learning in the library. And I said, oh my goodness, there's potential to our women that I don't even know that they are aware of. Like, I mean, maybe they're aware of it, but they just hide it, or what is this? You know,
Yes.
very,
Although they're not given permission to be.
yeah, yeah. In very many cases, yeah. But I say, you know what? Let me do a book on this, and let's see where this goes. And the more I started writing, the more it started coming out. And before I knew it, I started comparing the beauty of a apple and its purpose, and how the beauty of that apple shows its purpose, but it doesn't give it its purpose. And started attributing that to the woman for people to understand. See, because I mean, I could really go on all day talking about beauty. It's not, most people see it as physical. Whenever you bring
Hmm.
up beauty in women, most people, men, guilty as charged, we see it as physical or visual, but there's an audible beauty that comes from the woman.
Hmm.
There's a mental beauty, there's a soulish beauty, there's a spiritual beauty, and then there's a heart-based beauty that all comes from the woman. And the only way that anyone's going to benefit from this beauty is if they know how to recognize it. See,
Yeah.
so that's what beauty is all about.
I always find it kind of interesting. I'm in my 60s now, so of course the gray hair and the wrinkles are beginning to happen, and it's a woman getting older. It's always a fearful thing for her because under the current society, she'll no longer be loved or revered. But if she gets to
Mhm.
be extremely old with 10 million wrinkles on her face, but a beautiful glitter in her eyes of life and a wonderful smile, she's considered beautiful because of the essence of her. So, why can't the essence of a woman be beautiful from birth to death, no matter at what stage of age she's at?
Yeah, yeah. It's my short answer is that I blame Hollywood.
Hmm.
I blame Hollywood. I mean, with all of my core, I blame Hollywood for this, because no other country was really dealing with this issue of not appreciating women in the way that we do it.
Hmm.
Don't get me wrong. There's third world countries that are horrible to their women.
Oh, yeah.
Um, when Me Too first came out, I thought that they were going to actually do something about women's lack of rights in other countries. But I was utterly disappointed when I seen that they were just taking their anger out on men and trying to take rights from men and trying to replace men. And I said, okay, this isn't feminine at all.
Right.
you know,
Extremism.
yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
extremism, yeah.
Hmm.
But I remember there was a recent event. I was with my friends, male guy friends, buddies, right? And this is kind of why I don't hang out anymore, because we were watching TV and there was a elderly young lady, and I've seen the beauty in her. I've seen that she was beautiful, she was graceful, she carried herself like a queen, and she wasn't necessarily hunched over with a cane. She was, she was doing her thing. And I said, I mean, you could have dropped a pin when I said this. I said, that's a beautiful young lady. And I thought that the gentleman that I said that to were on my level, at least to some degree. And I thought that they would, be able to go there. But the look on their faces, it
What
was,
glasses are you wearing, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And it kind of hit me how Hollywood has impacted the man to where we can't even see the glory of a virtuous woman that has probably raised her children by herself,
Mhm.
has probably worked umpteen jobs by herself to raise the child, and then cultivate and actually give love into that child instead of pain that she has received. I could see if she took care of the child, then she gave the child pain. No, she still gave love to that child.
Yeah.
And the child grows up, walks the graduation stage. The dad shows up, and the mother and the child kind of has this nanny nanny nana about them, you know. But sad cycle. I blame Hollywood for it, and yeah, women are beautiful from birth to the grave.
Yeah, I'm going to be even a little more shakeable purple here. I blame also a lot of religion for it as well,
Mm-hmm.
because this whole status quo of where a woman should fit in society, instead of embracing all the women's glory of of all her beauty from the inside out, her brains,
Yeah.
her abilities, her giving, her joy, her love, her everything. um, the one thing that's changing in Hollywood, which is nice to see, you have your Helen Mirrens and your Sophie Lorenz and even the Kate Winslet now,
Mm-hmm.
um, they're doing shows where they're showing themselves to be ordinary human beings who gained weight through age or through children, and not wearing makeup, not scared to look like everyone else and not be the made up illusion of beauty. And it's people have seen them in their made up beautiful state, and now seeing them in their raw natural state and saying, but they're still
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. So
Yeah.
if they're beautiful, surely I am, and I don't need to have all the plasticine on, or to be, a size 2 when I should be a size 8, because my body needs to be that. We've become slaves to
Mm-hmm.
this illusion and to try and fit in, and that is seeking love from the outside in. And when you love yourself from the inside out, it doesn't matter what the exterior looks like. You're going to exude that beauty from the very
Yeah.
core of you. And we need to encourage women to be more like that. Do not live by the opinions of others, especially those that are looking at it from a control factor, or the status quo of, unless they're a Bond woman, they don't count.
Yes, indeed.
um, and I noticed that you do actually have that you've got in your Bad Boy Rebellion. You've used a lot of the pictures from James Bond, from all
Mm-hmm.
the Bond characters, and of course, the way they look at women in that. Yes, they can kick butt. Yes, they can be dangerous, but they're always sexualized. Um,
Right.
and that is, again, one of those things about we can be sexual creatures, but don't
Mm-hmm.
sexualize us. Because
Right.
James Bond, one of the scenes where he unzips another woman's dress, the things I do for England. But if a woman
Mm-hmm.
was in that role, she'd be a slut. So we
Right.
can't have the double standard anymore, can we?
No, we really can. Um, Mankind, whether we like it or not, we came from a origin, a very ancient origin, and in the origin, something went wrong. So there had to be some changes. Um, with those changes, the man has been set as the head of the household.
Hmm.
Now, many speak about the man being the head of the household, but they don't talk about much. I think the last person that really hit the hammer on the nail was James Brown. They don't they don't talk about much about what the woman is the head of.
Yeah.
See,
Everything. She
yeah,
wears all the
everything.
hats.
Oh
Yes.
my goodness.
Yes.
Everything, and not just everything that the man doesn't want anything to do with.
Yes. Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Oh, but the man, yes, he is the head of the household, but the woman, she's the head of the home.
Hmm.
See, and that may not be bluntly uh, placed in scripture, but whenever a woman reads the Adam and Eve scenario, they understand exactly God put the woman as the head of the home, and this hasn't changed. The woman is still running a lot of the show. The most courageous men in history were the 300 Spartans, and they were very beastly like. They were very macho, all of that. But the reason why they were like that isn't because they weren't trying to rule their women, their wives. They were allowing their wives to be women. The Spartan women had the most freedom out of all of Greece, um, of all the women in Greece at the time. And they even said Helen of Sparta was the most beautiful woman in Greece at the time. That's as legend goes, but this is a lesson learned. When you allow the woman to be the head of what she's has been created to be the head of, and you don't try to interfere, then guess what happens, fellas? She allows you to be a man.
Hmm.
It's a beautiful cycle.
Yes. Well, we were given the gift of multitasking. And,
Yeah.
whether a guy is going out to his job or going to war, or, the fisherman on the trawler, the woman is behind juggling the family and all that comes with it. And she's on duty 24/7. And she has to have the ability to manage everything. And, I've counseled so many women who, the empty nesters. It's now, well, now what do I do? I stayed home to raise the family. I'm not qualified for anything. And I go, okay, who
Mm,
balanced the books?
mm,
Who cooked, head cook and bottle washer? Who was the chauffeur? Who was the counselor?
mm,
Who was the nurturer, the nurse? Who was the lover? Right?
mm,
And look at all the roles that a woman plays in raising a
mm,
family, in a household. And if that doesn't give you qualification, I don't know what does.
yeah.
It's just literally changing those skills into something that is meaningful and purposeful to you.
Yeah.
So there's always a solution. So let's go to confidence now.
Hmm.
So talk to me about your confidence book.
Okay. So confidence. Um, this one from the gate, I wanted to expel any previous misconceptions of confidence. Many people, they try to act and do things based on confidence without realizing that confidence was never created or never given to us for us to act on. Um, I break this down in all of my books, but it's the four parts of humanity. Every person has a mind, they have a soul, they have a spirit, and they have a heart. Now, this takes a while to break down, but just briefly to hit the surface, the mind is the database of all experiences. So anything that anyone could experience from the five senses, from their eyes, their ears, their taste, their touch, their their smell. There we go.
Hmm.
I know I left one out. Um, those are all gates that allow your environment to be observed in your mind. Now, your brain is one thing, your mind is another. When a person dies, the brain is still here, but their mind is gone
Hmm.
because your mind is spiritual, it's beyond the brain. That's why, I hate to use this example, but it is very true and it's very real. When someone has a mental issue, that person is still smart.
Yes.
Um, in many cases, we all seen Rain Man, they're
Mhm.
geniuses in many cases, but the brain is damaged. So the brain has an issue computing what's in the mind
Yes.
to their physical aspect. See, so the mind holds all thoughts, ideas, and suggestions. Now, the soul is what we call the deep mind. That's the back of the brain, physically speaking. The soul is also spiritual, and the soul is the database of all emotion. Now, beyond the soul, you have your spirit. That's who you actually are. It's the database of all characteristics and all personality. It's the it's the database of your personality. It's who you are as a person. Physically speaking, that's where all of your chakras are, all your windows, all of your joints, your bones. That's where your spirit is dwelling. It's throughout your body.
Throughout the spine.
Yes, throughout the spine. Yes, yes, indeed. Now, beyond that, what we have that most people don't really understand yet is the heart. The heart is the database of all motives and all motives and all action. So we have something like confidence, which most people believe you can act on. You can act based on something that you're confident about. And people will actually base businesses, their legacy, their family, and how they raise their family on confidence. Um, uh, for the gentlemen that um, are for the gentlemen that have a way with the ladies, I'll put it that way nicely. Um, One of the main things that they try to work on is their confidence because they know that young ladies, young impressionable ladies, like confidence in a man. So this gentleman will actually use this confidence to get the girl, and in some cases, he falls for the girl and he marries this girl based on this initial confidence. Confidence is not meant for the heart. It's not meant for you to act on. Confidence is for your mind. See, confidence is something that you have in your mind. If you have confidence in your heart, it's in the wrong place because you're acting on something that doesn't necessarily require you to act on it. If you're confident about a thing, that's good, but you have to take that confidence and you have to graduate it into something that can eventually enter into your heart. That way, you're not just acting on something that's frivolous, something that is pointless. You'll be acting on something, and in most cases, here's a little spoiler for the book, you're acting on someone, you're acting for someone instead of acting for something. See,
Would you say that confidence is kind of the precursor to courage?
yes, indeed.
Mhm.
Yes, indeed.
And when we find that courage, we find that strength, we've gained our confidence.
Yes, indeed. Are you sure you haven't read the book?
No, I haven't.
Okay. That's wisdom. That's wisdom, people.
That's age accumulation,
Mm.
and open channels. You've got another one here that it's so sad that we even have to address it, but it is the SSS, the solution to school shootings.
Yeah.
I mean, if ever there is one that can bring out the anger, but the anger is we need to put that anger into the solution. What do you see as the solution to the shootings that we see far too much of?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, my entire time working on this book, um, I was in tears
Mm,
the entire time. researching it, putting everything together, and recording it. I mean, tears the entire time. And it it was very interesting because the issue was so out of hand that this was something that started from something small, and it got ignored, and it kept getting ignored to the point where the result, which was the school shootings, happened. And by the time people started trying to do something about it, it was like it was like flying a kite in a hurricane. All the experts are confused about this issue, and they're so confused. Most of the experts, they're I won't say arrogant, but they're confident enough to call a theory a law. They weren't calling their theories laws here.
Mm.
Everyone was walking on eggshells concerning this issue. And I'm observing, I'm like, okay, look, if you get it wrong, what's the worst that can happen? At least you got some progress. But everyone was so scared of being wrong that they were posing suggestions, experts posing suggestions, PhDs. And
But where was the action?
come again?
Where was the action?
Where was the action? Where was the action? So I was led to do this series, and in the series, I don't pose theories, I don't pose suggestions, I pose solutions,
Mm.
and solutions that build up to one big solution. Just to give you guys ideas of what's in the book, we have psychologists that are getting paid much more money than their success rate actually is. And we have some psychologists that are getting paid much less than their success rate actually is. But they're helping the rich.
Yeah.
They're helping the people that could afford it. Now, just with a couple of picket signs and a couple of meetings, it could be orchestrated to set up a government program where every psychologist with a specific success rate can do a form of community service on taxpayer dollars to be a designated psychologist at every high school and middle school.
Yeah.
We can start with one and then build up to every grade, one per grade. But
Get to the root of the problem, right?
yes,
Everybody wants to band-aid everything. Well, it's like a disease. Stop treating the disease. Treat how the disease came about in the first place. Get to the root
yes,
of it. And of course, the
yes,
root of it, everybody wants to blame the kid that was bullied, or mental problems. That's their favorite thing. The root of the
yeah,
problem is the access to guns.
yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yes,
stop
indeed.
having such a love affair with guns that are costing so many people their lives. A
Yeah,
kid should not be able to buy AK-7 or even a gun.
yeah,
It's handed out like candy, and there aren't
yeah,
any consequences. So if there are consequences on the gun manufacturers, the gun owners, the NRA, right from the word go, that they've got to
hmm,
pay out on every death.
yeah,
And
yeah,
they've
yes,
they've
indeed.
you know they've got to be held accountable because it was their weapon. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
who's pulled the finger.
yeah,
Hollywood making it all glamorified, right?
yeah,
And people with their anger going to violence because they don't know how
hmm,
to take their anger anywhere else,
yeah,
right? So yes, we need to deal with that anger and pain before it becomes that negative um, one, before it costs somebody else's life. And yeah,
yeah,
it's every time I see another shooting, I just ask why in this day and age that this
yeah,
is still happening.
yeah,
When are you going to wake up? When are you going to change it up? When is it going to be enough? All those children that got killed at Sandy Hook, you would have thought, but no,
Hmm.
it's more and more and more and more and more defense for the gun people. I'm sorry, no.
Yeah.
There has to be another movement, that is consistent, non-violent, but, most certainly in your face.
Yeah.
Because change doesn't happen if we ignore it. Um,
Yeah.
we've got to be the change that we seek. So let's go to something a little more, less less rising. Let's go
Yeah.
to perfect faith, the inspiration and the spirituality. I think we both come from that core.
Hmm.
It is our guidance system. And you
Hmm.
have an eagle here on the front of this. And of course, the eagle can see from great heights, it can see
Yes.
down to great depths. And that's really
Yes.
what spirituality is, isn't it? It's great heights to great depths of being able
Hmm.
to see and understand. So tell us a
Hmm.
little on that.
All right. Well, perfect faith is once more it there's a lot of unlearning in it. Um, faith is like many other issues and concerns. Many people believe that there's many paths to it, and that's very true. But when there's something that has such levels to it and has been conceptualized so much, it's one thing to take your own path. It's one thing to try to figure this thing out that many before you, um, for hundreds, thousands of years even, have tried to master, and so few have gotten close. I mean, you could take your own path if you want. You're free to do so,
Mhm.
but you want to make sure that you take the right path when it comes to something that's deep. And the right path to perfect faith is to go to the source of faith, to
Mhm.
find the source of faith, the architect of faith. Um, the easy part of this is that the same source behind faith is the same source behind this divine wisdom that we speak of today.
Mhm.
And that's the easy part. That makes it easy for you to find this faith because you don't have to go to some other source. It's the same source. But what we don't hear much about is perfected faith, faith where it's perfect, where there's no flaw in it. And in all essence, faith, as scripture says, is the essence of things hoped for, it's the evidence of things unseen. Well, on a scientific aspect, those are scientific terms. The substance of things hoped for, substance, that's a scientific term. And the evidence of things not seen, that's a scientific term, evidence. And in the study of this, I came to the conclusion that faith in all essence is light. It's a form of light. And people, in all essence, we're a form of light as well. But when you take it to a applicable aspect, faith is nothing but obedience. It's just simply obedience. It's simply being given a command and obeying that command. Now, I know in this liberal world, many don't like the term command
Or even obey.
or obey. Yeah,
So I would,
but that go
I would say allow. Um,
allow. Yeah,
allowing, not the command, but allowing that knowledge, because you know, when you allow it, you know it's truth. You don't
right.
need to fight with it. You don't need to dictate it. We want to
Yeah,
take the dictation out of it because that's where people have got lost. But we need
yeah,
to step into allowing by being in tune to it. And then
yes,
we are liberated by it. We are guided by it. But if you
yes,
don't allow it in, how are you going to actually understand what it means to you? That it is
yes,
it's your guiding system.
yeah.
the very core of your beingness is this
Yes.
beautiful truth. And so it, I don't look at it as a command or, an order. I look at it
Mm-hmm.
as it has to be free will, and you
Mm.
have to allow it in. But when you do, in that allowing, that permission, is that you have surrendered yourself to this truth and
Yeah.
to its guidance. And that guidance system is your core being. This
Yeah.
beautiful truth will never ever steer you wrong. When the core says no, it's no. When the core says yes, it's yes. There is
Yeah.
no maybe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if
Yeah.
there's a maybe, that means you don't act on it.
Right. And see,
Because,
that's where the command comes in.
mhm,
See, because if you allow it to be a maybe, then it's it's something that you know you're supposed to do, but you don't do it. It's a command, it's a nature command. So we have the free will to rebel,
mhm,
but the only reason why it's rebellion is because you were commanded to do it. So we could live freely in rebellion, but the ducks suffer, the lions suffer, they go extinct, the trees suffer, the environment suffer, because even though we have the free will to do what we want, we we have we have to obey that command. That's faith.
mhm. Trust. It's trust,
Trust. Yeah.
right? It is
Mm-hmm.
trust that divine present, that divine wisdom will
Mm-hmm.
not steer you wrong,
Yeah.
and that's why people call it blind faith.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
We
Most
need a
definitely.
lot more of that today, um,
Mm-hmm.
because we have lost our guidance system. We've
Yeah.
lost that ability to kind of just understand, go with the rhythm of life, tap into the beautiful messages that are out there. We need to be willing to surrender to
Mm-hmm.
that beautiful wisdom and be
Yeah.
guided by it. And sometimes it's going to make us uncomfortable, and we're going to
Mm-hmm.
have to find courage and strength to take the journey that's been laid before us.
Yeah.
But and without a map,
Yeah.
without a guidance system, the guidance system is within you. It will
Yeah.
guide you right if you're in tuned into it.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you fall, that fall was meant to happen because there was something you needed to learn either on the ground or in getting back up,
Yeah.
right? It's that surrendering to that divine essence of yourself where you
Mm-hmm.
are at one with the universe and following your meaningful purpose in life.
Yeah. That's
A
very
good
true.
place to be, isn't it?
Yes, indeed.
Now
Yes,
let's go
indeed.
to your bad boy book, and I love the fact that you use James Bond. I'm a James Bond fan. I have been since I was a kid. But the way you describe it, Doctor No, and his simple thing is my name is Bond, and as you said, he likes the cigarette and a pause, and then continues James Bond, and it's
Mm-hmm.
always that line is the same with the shaken not stirred, all of those
Mm-hmm.
things. It is the pauses
Yeah.
in the Bond lingo that has always stayed with us the most, isn't it? Yes, a
Mm-hmm.
man of action, man of this, be able to do everything, but it's those wonderful pauses before those one-liners. But why did you choose, the James Bond as the original bad boy?
Well, Sean Connery, Sir Connery, rest in peace.
Yes.
Um, Man, he really painted the picture. He raised the bar for the gentleman at that time. And whenever I talk to old timers still to this day about James Bond, talking about the men, the gentleman, they'll say, man, Sean Connery was the only James Bond.
Hmm.
And
I got
Roger
to
Moore,
meet
he
him
did his,
actually.
oh, come again?
I got to meet him actually.
Really?
back in the 70s, mid 70s, at a disco with his wife
Oh,
in
wow.
Madrid. A very brief meeting, but his charismatic,
Hmm.
essence of himself introduced himself to me before he did.
Wow. Man, see, you you can't beat that.
Hmm.
Can't can't beat that. So he painted the picture for what we know as the bad boy today.
Hmm.
And this guy that he's a rebel, he's the cool guy, he could take down armies with one gun, he could catch bullets with his teeth. This guy was based on James Bond. And a lot of people today, young men today, they're still trying to be James Bond, whether they realize it or not,
Yeah.
whether they're a Bond fan or not. What they're trying to be stemmed from the stigma of gentlemen that actually existed around that time. But Hollywood, unfortunately, in every James Bond movie, they only show the cool stuff. And see, the bad boy, there's two sides to his life. There's the
Hmm.
cool side. There's the fact that he drives the car, he has a house, he gets the girl. He treats the girl wrong. The girl doesn't want to leave him after he treats her wrong. I mean, this guy, he may not be the best role model, but he got something going on for himself, right? But what they don't show in the movies in Hollywood is that this gentleman, the character that Sean Connery played, James Bond, he cried himself to sleep for the majority of his childhood. He didn't grow up with both parents. He contemplated suicide very often, before military, during military, and after military.
Yes.
And in the story, James Bond, he's actually I believe he's a SEAL, British, intelligence, but a Navy SEAL, or the British, the English equivalent.
Hmm.
So these are tough guys, tough gentlemen that go through some tough things, regardless of the tough stuff that they went through when they were younger. And it takes a lot of work to be where James Bond is in the movie that we see. A lot of backstory that Hollywood doesn't give us.
Yes.
So we have a lot of gentlemen that want to be the boss, but they don't want to pay the cost.
Right. I think actually another person that kind of would be our new James Bond. Unfortunately, we've lost him way too soon. Is Chadwick,
Mm,
the Black Panther.
yeah,
He was the superhero with heart. He was the
yeah,
superhero with decorum, with class.
yeah.
He didn't fight for the sake of fighting. He
Hmm.
fought, in the defense of, as a
Hmm.
last resort. And it doesn't matter even in the Black Panther, him as that superhero, because he wasn't like any of the other superheroes.
Yeah,
His soul in every single role that he has played has always come through.
yeah.
And it's kind of a reluctant hero in many
Hmm.
ways. And James Bond, in a way, was that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He was conditioned to be this person, but there was that soul that really seeked the peace. And every time he found it, the woman was killed or
Yeah.
snatched away from him. And
Yeah.
um, and how just moments in life, seize the day, hold on to them, because you don't know if they're going to be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
A lot of people just watch things for the action or for the bad boy thing, but they don't see the story of
Hmm.
in between the lines.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, indeed. And that's the whole essence of the bad boy. Uh, your favorite Bond movie, you may leave that out. Your favorite Cary Grant movie, um, even to this day, the Jason Statham, the Rock movies, your favorite movie may leave that out. This book is
Mhm.
not going to leave that out, or it hasn't left
Right.
that out.
Yeah. There is always a reason why we become who we've become.
Yeah.
And there is the whole purpose of our journey of life is to discover our strength, our courage, our
Hmm.
abilities, our meaningful purpose, because we
Hmm.
are all here to serve. We are all here to be
Yeah.
there for one another in
Yeah.
our most beautiful gift that we've been given by God. And when
Yeah.
we embrace that gift and we use that instrument, we become part of that solution. Um,
Yeah.
and so it's the journeys of our superheroes, they're always a battle. Well,
Mm.
we have battles in our lives. There isn't anybody living that doesn't have a battle, but it's
Yeah.
how we get through that battle. It isn't
Hmm.
carrying away, it isn't adhering to the violence and becoming numbed with all. It is about finding the love, the meaningfulness, the compassion within it, within that battle. And
Yeah.
and I think that's the journey for us all to take, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
So you have a lot here. I mean, we haven't even covered all of the book things. There's valor,
Hmm.
talking about the alpha force, and you've got all of them over here, and each one of them will take people down a different journey. And as I said, with
Hmm.
the music in the background, soft, soothe voice speaking over it, it is something that just find your quiet space and just listen and
Hmm.
let it penetrate in. This isn't a quick fix. This isn't a quick download thing. It is something. Be centered, or be in a space of quietness when you listen, because then it will speak to you more deeply. So how do people find your books? How do people get to them?
Yes, that's at augustusvaugn.com. That's AUGUSTUS Vaugn VAUGHN.com. Everything's there.
And you've got the Bad Boy trailer here right on the show page here. And
Hmm.
keep on doing what you're doing, because it is a unique way. The graphics that you use, the music that you use, the simplicity, and the fact that you aren't showing your face. You have chosen to be, behind the camera rather than in front of it,
Hmm.
and just letting your presence be there. Thank you for doing that, and keep on doing what you're doing, because clearly it's working.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot to me. That's a blessing. Thank you.
We don't know where our wisdom is going to come from, and we don't know what our wisdom is for. All we need to do is embrace it, let it guide us, and it will be spoken to those that are ready to hear it at the time that they're ready to hear it. So all we can do is put it out there, and then people will pick it up when they're ready to receive the message. So thanks so much for being with us here today, Augustus.
Thank you.
Until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. You will hear many, many shows here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. We have new shows for you out every week. Just find them on our podcast or What's New. If you feel that you have something to share that makes a difference in the lives of others, or you too feel that you could be a host, please contact me at info@selfdiscoverymedia.com, and we will be glad to speak with you. Have a wonderful day.